the flip side is I think when I came to you guys also, my mind was opening up to also not wanting to be limited to that. So it was like I wanted to continue to work on being able to use that tool. And I was like, could I also be more of a versatile singer? You know, because I think part of me felt like my voice can only do this thing, you know, and I can do this and I feel comfy doing it. And, you know, people tell me they think it sounds good. Does that mean that I can't also like sing some type of pop song?
Hey Voxstar, and welcome to From Singer to Artist. I'm Lara Chapman, award-winning singer and songwriter turned viral vocal coach and the host of this show. At VoxTape Studios, we help singers from all over the world level up their voices by teaching them the 3 fundamental skills all singers need: technique, awareness, and artistry. Whether you're looking to go pro or just develop your voice for fun, my team and I are here to help. Check the link in the description to book your first session or grab some of our other resources. Alrighty, are you ready? Let's get started. Coming to you from LA today because I've got a very, very special guest with me here, and I'm so excited to introduce you to this special guest. Oh my gosh, we have a lot of different connections. How we ended up here is really weird, and we're going to get into this story, but this is a fellow musician, singer, artist, and also a student of ours. Welcome, Avatari.
Hey, Laura.
Hi, Ari.
Yeah.
Ari, Avatari.
You got it.
Ari Welkom, Avatari, artist name.
Many names.
Many names. How are you?
I'm great.
Thank you so much for being here, taking the time out of your busy schedule to meet with me.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Of course, and talk to all of us about your lovely story and how you ended up here, because you've got a lot of stuff going on.
Oh, the story. Gosh. So what I'm thinking what angle to take with the story, but so I'm in Los Angeles, and I feel like I was kind of always destined to come here because I am a musician, but I'm also an actor, and I've always loved kind of where those 2 art forms and expressions intersect. So that's part of my story, is the entertainment and kind of fusing music and songwriting and singing and acting together. And that's what I love to do now, really. I love to do all those things, and I love when those things do cross, like in music videos or, creating music that goes in film or TV and stuff like that. So that's part of my story. The other, one other part of my story is that, I think I, in some ways, always knew that I was a musician and an artist at heart. Like when I was a little kid, like 5 or 6, there were a couple opportunities to like jump on stage and do a talent show. And one was I sang Tutti Frutti by Little Richard at a talent show when I was 5. I love Little Richard. I just
that one?
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so there were, anytime there was a chance to like get on stage and perform. Another one, like I got to do Michael Jackson Thriller when I was 6 or 7. And but the other thing was that I had a lot of things that I really liked to do, and different things in my life as a young person that were driving me. I was into sports, I was into academics, and I had really big goals and drive. With sports, I wanted to like play football in the NFL, and with academics, I knew I wanted to go to like the best school that I could possibly go to. And so that drove me, and it kind of took up a lot of the space that maybe focusing on music would have. I also grew up in a musical family, and my dad is in the music business.
Oh,
and
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's a rock concert promoter. And so he also was a musician. Like he played guitar when he was, 10 years old to 30 years old, and he was in like a 60s, 70s rock band. And in fact, like one of his stories is he got to open for the Doors at one of those shows where Jim Morrison was like too wasted to actually go on.
Oh, no.
And so my dad's band had to play for like 2 sets until Jim Morrison sobered up. But
God, that's hilarious.
Anyway, so I was around music, but because my dad was kind of in the music industry, I kind of also got to see the other side of it a little bit, where it almost felt like that's not really a realistic career pursuit, because I was so close. I didn't have any, like, it was just clearly, I saw all the kind of size of what it would probably take to do it. So I kind of just said, you know what, I think I'm not going to do that. Instead of kind of just going for following my heart with creating music and not worrying about where it might lead. So anyway, then I got to college and I did go to Harvard, which was kind of my goal, which was amazing and an amazing opportunity. But what happened was I had a moment of kind of, I would say, like, I got over this giant hurdle and then I didn't know what to do next. Like, I had done the thing. And then at the same time, all these other things were coming into my life as like possibilities, girls, partying, drugs and alcohol. And so I'd been a kind of good boy for so long that the part of me that wanted to keep doing that kind of broke. And it was time. In retrospect, I think it was inevitable, but it led to me over a few years just losing my mind and then ultimately crashing and burning. And pretty young though. So I kind of maybe got it out of my system and hit a, what is referred to in some circles as a bottom. And fortunately for me, I had a window of opportunity and some support, and I wound up getting clean and sober. And so that set off a whole new journey. And at the same time, I was in Los Angeles pursuing, a career as an actor and musician and all that. And so, and that's really where, when all that happened, I kind of went from, what am I going to do in the next phase of my life? What do I really want to do? I had majored in economics. I did play football in college, and I knew that my heart was yearning for a different path. And so I kind of went back to that. The little boy who jumped on stage and sang Tutti Frutti is what came back to me. And I just started playing music, and it was really like my soul remedy, especially on those nights where I was, I was getting clean. It was at the beginning of my sober journey, and I needed an outlet. And so I had a guitar, and I had my voice, and I had, pen and paper to write lyrics and stuff. And it just started coming out of me. And so anyway, that's over the last, 10 plus years been my journey, and it's turned into, oh shit, this is like what I want to do. I don't know about for the rest of my life. I hesitate to say that because
well, you never know.
But right? You never know. But I absolutely love it. It's and also the people part of it. Like, it's drawn me to amazing other humans that are like-minded. So I forget what the initial question was.
Just your story.
My story.
But yes, so, I think that sums it up really well. I mean, that's amazing. Every time we meet, and we can dig into how we met, but every time we meet and I see you, there's a new thing that I learn about you, and I'm like, what? It's just like
it's a lot of whats.
There's a lot, but you've done so much. Like, you're so accomplished, and you've worked so hard in your life, and you've done just so many amazing things. And it's like, oh, he did that too, and that. And it's like, wow, does it ever end? And you're still so young, just a little spring chicken, like I like to say. But so how we met is through Modern Musician, and I reached out to Modern Musician, and you were the person answering, and so you were kind of like my first contact there. And then we started working together through Modern Musician, and then eventually you ended up taking voice lessons with us. So now you're a student here too. You're working with Coach Emily. Oh yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
Yes.
VoxTape Studios.
We try.
Oh, no. You do way more than try. Yeah.
Well, thank you. We love what we do, and I hope that shows.
I'll definitely be praising you and Emily and VoxTapes very much during this conversation. We'll get there.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So you work at Modern Musician. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you do there and how you ended up there?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was one of those moments where I was kind of just following intuition, opportunity, just, one thing led to another, and it led to this is a place that I'm supposed to be in life. Like, I don't know if it's God or magic or just,
the universe,
whatever you would call it. But definitely like a series of events. So Modern Musician is a marketing company for musicians, and now we're also a software company, helping musicians grow their fan bases and monetize their music. It's really like the kind of creating a path in the new music industry for a independent musician to be able to run their business and succeed. Our philosophy is like, this is the best time in independent music to be a musician. It's right now, because all of the technology, and there's just a huge explosion of what's available, which didn't always used to be the case. You used to need gatekeepers and, record labels and managers and to be able to get to certain levels. And now it's really about, how are you going to create a business model using everything that's available between social media and ads and, creating offers, things to sell and all that. So anyway, that's what Modern Musician does. But the way that I came to Modern Musician was during the pandemic, and the pandemic had just started, and I was getting right before that, I was getting ready to launch my solo project, Avatari. Previously, I'd been in bands in LA for a few years, like 5 years or so, pounding the pavement, kind of old-fashioned way, like just playing shows, touring, trying to build fans through playing live. And I had some great times. I got to play some cool festivals and had moments of like, oh, it's happening. But what would always happen is, one thing would always lead to another, and the band would something would happen and the band would fall apart. So I learned a few things. I learned was, one, I think I want to be a solo artist because I want to be in the driver's seat, and I don't want a bunch of things, too many variables to be able to like break the whole mission into pieces. So I learned that. And then also I knew that I needed to learn a more modern way to approach growing a fan base and releasing music. So I had some friends, and one in particular that I saw doing well online. Her name's Savannah Pope. Do you know Savannah?
Yeah, I've never met her, but we somehow follow each other on
cool.
Facebook friends.
Yeah, you should be. Yeah, you're both awesome, and she's an LA artist with like an amazing voice, super expressive, and we happen to be friends in this scene. And I said, what are you doing? How are you doing what you're doing? And she said, Modern Musician. And so I just looked him up and I applied and I just jumped in. And so there's a coaching program that was 3 months long, that's intensive and basically taught me how to, market myself as a musician. At the time, I actually didn't even know what my project name was.
Okay.
And so there's a whole part at the beginning about artist identity, and
Love
building
it.
your brand and stuff like that, and your artist story and your journey. And it helped me find that name, and I found my logo and all this cool stuff. But I also found out how to use, Facebook and Instagram and create ads and find fans and live stream. And so I started building this little thing during the pandemic at a time where I was like, man, I'm just getting ready to launch this thing, and live music is shut down, basically. So, but the other thing that happened was when I went through the program, at the end, they asked me if I wanted to learn how to coach and join the team.
Okay.
And so I I had had such an amazing experience, and I loved the people. That was the other thing. I really
Yeah.
loved the people and the mission of what they were doing to empower, musicians. It
Yeah.
was like, oh man, this feels great. So I just said yes. And I not only did I say yes, but it was one of those moments where I said to myself, because I also really needed a job too, because it was the pandemic. And
Yeah.
and I have a family. At the time I had my wife and one son. I have two now, but I was like, this is perfect. And so I'm going to throw myself into this. Whatever they need, whatever they ask me to do, I'm just going to say yes. So fortunately, they were growing. We're still growing a lot, but
Yeah.
at the time, they were kind of making this leap to a next phase of being a business. And so there were all these opportunities, and one of which was launching a podcast.
Oh, no way. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And there was a guy, my good friend there, Jared Christensen.
Yes, love Jared.
Yeah, Jared's awesome. And he had wanted to launch a podcast for modern musicians. So he wanted to do it. And I remember there was like a meeting, and he said, I feel like I could use a wingman. Is there anybody here? And I just went, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Like, I knew nothing about podcasts at all. Wasn't a podcast guy, but I just knew I wanted to help and be a part of it. So I got to co-produce and launch the Modern Musician podcast. And that was an amazing experience. We hit number 2 on the Apple Podcast new music charts, and it's become this whole way that we connect with amazing partners for Modern Musician.
Yeah.
And so that's how
we met.
That's how we met.
Yeah, through
Yeah.
the podcast. And you were kind of like my facilitator. Is that the word I'm looking for? Like the person who, scheduled everything. And...
I like that. Yeah, we'll go with however you just said facilitator. That was very
I was like,
large.
is the A coming first or the facilitator?
Facilitator.
Facilitator.
Yeah, that.
But yeah, and you were so fun to work with and easy to work with. And I was like, oh, I like this dude. And then we met in person for the first time. Where? Here in LA.
Yeah, it was in
gosh.
LA a couple summers ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Summer of 23.
Sounds right.
Yes.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Summer of 23. We met here in person, and it was just so fun to hang out with you there. And then, and then we met a couple times just at all these different modern musician
Hawaii.
events. Hawaii was awesome.
Yep.
You were in Denver too.
Denver.
There for a little bit. That
That's
was right
right.
around
Yep.
your birthday.
Yeah.
And Orlando was your birthday.
Yeah, we're just like so many
Yeah,
places.
Orlando was your birthday. But Denver and then Puerto Rico.
I did not get to go to Puerto Rico. That was the one that I missed.
That's right.
Yeah.
See, for me, it's like all these modern musicians event. You're just there.
I know.
And then, but yeah, you missed that one.
missed that
That's
one,
right.
but-
yeah, a couple people missed that one. We had a good time, but we missed you.
Yeah.
See, in my brain, it's like you're there.
I'm there. I am in Puerto Rico.
You're always
right now.
there. You're
Yeah.
always there. Are you going to be in Orlando again?
That's the plan.
That's the plan. Very
Yeah.
cool. Very cool.
Yeah, I do have a show that next week, so I think there'll be time to do both. But yeah,
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean, you're working with Modern Musician. You have a big role there, and then you also have your solo project, Avatari.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
So we heard a little bit of your story of how you got into that and how
Yeah.
you're marrying it with, like, you were doing acting as well. Weren't you like on Days of Our Lives or something like that?
I
whatever
did.
that
I had
show
a
is?
little run on Days of Our Lives. Played a bad guy. In fact, most of at least the last like 10 years of my career, the acting roles that I've had are playing like really bad guys.
Really, but you're the
And-
goodest guy of them all.
Oh, I thank you. I think it's typecasting. I think it's just like maybe just a look thing, but I will say I enjoy it. It's fun. It's acting is fun. I love it so much. And it's it's basically getting to be a kid, like a child. It's a
Yeah.
child's game. You get to make believe, and kids do
Yeah.
it all the time.
Play, pretend, make
my-
believe, yeah.
Two sons, especially the littler one, who's he's going to be 3. Like it's just all imagination and play. And so there's part of me, I kind of feel like there's part of all of us that want to do that as adults too. So that's what acting is. It's like an adult version of, a child's game. But anyway, what was the question?
And so you started making more music then as well. So tell me a little bit more about the musical side of your life. Like, did you have a lot of training before you started doing Avatari, and then you were in other bands as well? You said that you played with and toured with, or was it more like learning by doing? Like, how did you do it?
Kind of a combination, but mostly, at least at first, it was probably learning by doing. Like when I was a kid, I was around music. My dad played music. He exposed us to a ton of music. So I did start singing and playing a little bit of guitar, and I started learning piano as a little kid. And I did learn some, theory when I was doing that. But then when I really kind of took the plunge, it was kind of just jumping into bands. And I started off playing the bass guitar because I wanted to start playing in a band as soon as possible. And I thought, what would be the quickest route to that? And it's like, oh, this thing has like 4 strings. You only play usually one note at a time.
Yeah.
You just try to sync up with the drums and keep the... So I just I got my first bass, and I jumped into the first band that I could, and I started playing, singing some backup vocals. So that was kind of the beginning of like pursuing music as an adult. But then, like I was telling you, when I got sober, I started just writing tons of songs.
Yeah.
And then I really wanted to share them, but I was terrified because I didn't have experience. I didn't know what I was doing. I hadn't played out, especially as a singer and a songwriter. So, but there's all these opportunities in LA, probably in every city, but like I just started going to open mics.
Yeah.
And doing that. And that was cool because I just got to play the songs. And I actually remember a couple of the times where I was so scared that it was like an out-of-body experience that I can't even, but I got through it. That was kind of the win. And then I started meeting some people in those circles. And through that, somehow, actually, you know what? It was actually I was doing a movie and I was acting in it. And on set, I met one of the guys on the crew, I think it was the AD, wound up being this really cool French guy, and we hit it off. And then we started talking about music, and he wanted to start a band, and he was a guitarist. And I was like, I have all these songs, and I'm a singer, and so we just started playing together, and we started a band, and we ran for a few years. And I feel like that was. At the time, I was like, we're going to break. We're going to be famous. We're going to, we're going to do all these things. But in retrospect, I think it was kind of my training. I mean, it's all training. It's all learning. But I was learning how to be a front man. I jumped into vocal lessons because I wanted to grow as a vocalist. So
that's when you started your vocal training.
That's when I started my vocal training.
Had lessons.
Yeah. And it was not until a couple years in where I started to hit certain walls where like when we would play a few shows in a row and my voice would get ragged and I was like, I don't know how to navigate through this. When there were just notes that I wanted to hit that I couldn't hit yet, or and so I just wanted to be better. Also, I was finding, like I learned a lot in the studio. We recorded a couple of albums, and so just being, there with the mic. But yeah, that's when I got into vocal training. And so I had a couple vocal teachers through that. And and then most recently,
with us.
with you,
yeah. So was there a moment that made you want to get into vocal training? Because you said you started vocal training and then eventually you hit a wall. Like, was there a moment where you're like, it's time for me to
I think that I can't remember the very first time that I started vocal lessons. trying to think back to what the impetus was. I just think I wanted to grow and get better.
Okay.
But recently, because I've had a series of vocal training experiences, the most recent one, there was a very clear moment. And basically, there's a song that I wrote and recorded and released called Fighter.
Yeah.
And so then I released the song, and then I started playing it live.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like one time I would feel great and be able to sing it fully all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
And then another time I could not. So the chorus is pretty high for me.
Yeah, it's a very difficult chorus. You did not make your life easy with that one, my friend.
Well, I like music, and I like to make music that has big dynamics.
Yeah.
I love Nirvana, and I love when kind of the verses sort of chill, and then boom, the chorus hits and it goes way up. Not all the times, but that's like one of the ways that I write songs, and Fighter is like that. So it's like you're singing the verse down here, and then boom, I've always been
yeah.
So there was, I think, a show or two where I just struggled through the song, and like I was singing the note, but I was like raspy, but not intentional raspy. Like I was kind of driving through it, and so I kind of got honest with myself, and was like, not only do I want to be able to sing the song live, I want to be able to sing this song live 4 or 5 nights in a row
and be okay
and feel great. So I knew that I needed to get start working and get a coach and get back into it. So anyway, I had gotten a recommendation from Shane.
Yes, Shane.
Yeah.
We love Shane.
Shane Hillman, who is a really cool artist, great guy. I met him through Modern Musician. And he was buzzing about you guys. Just he's literally said that you were the best vocal coaches that he'd ever worked with. And so I thought to myself, that's,
well, let's give it a try. Let's give it a shot. See
and
what happens.
I feel the same way. It's been just a transformative process and experience, and totally is it's changing everything for me vocally.
I'm so happy to hear that, and kudos to my team, right? Like they're the ones doing the groundwork, right? Like I'm just here looking pretty, talking to people. No, I'm kidding. Obviously, I the first lesson we did together, that was you and me, and I get to know you and be like, okay, who from my team is the best fit for you? We placed you with Emily, and that really seemed to have worked out. So I'm
big time.
So happy about that. And yeah, Emily's doing a great job.
I'm loving it. Yeah, she's amazing.
She really is. She really is. And it's good to have a team of completely different coaches with different approaches, because then I can see, okay, well, where are you at right now? And what are your goals? And what needs to happen to get there? And that's going to be different for everybody. And also, what's your personality? Like, I already knew you, so that was helpful, And so, I was like, okay, well, I do believe that Emily is going to have the best approach for you compared to, a different coach like Juliana from our team. She has a completely different approach to teaching somebody singing. And they're both amazing, but very different. And so I'm glad that we were able to find the right fit for you.
Oh, yeah. Knocked it out of the park. Could not be happier.
So what makes you say that? Because I feel like there's so many great vocal coaches out there, right? And it's just all about like finding the right fit. But like, what to you, compared to maybe some of the lessons that you've had in the past, like what makes you say like this is so amazing?
Yeah. So I feel like the process is really specific. It's very technical, all the exercises that we do. And I just feel like I'm on a real path with it. And I felt that since the first lesson. I feel, after every little phase, I can see these breakthroughs that are happening, which is really exciting. I mean, just take that was kind of the main goal over the first like 6 months that I was working with you
fighter
guys
song.
was the fighter song. That was the thing that was kind of driving me, was can I get to a place where that feels very easeful, where I don't feel like when the chorus is coming, I'm kind of like and jumping off a cliff, and that I could go right into another song or even sing fighter again and feel so. And, you know, it hasn't happened overnight, but I've just felt like closer and closer, especially the more consistent that I've been with the work and the exercises. But and I also feel, one of my other things that I've always struggled with is like having tension in different places, like jaw, throat, tongue. I didn't even really know about tongue tension, you know, and the exercises that Emily has walked me through and given me to both like figure out where the tension is and then to be able to let it go. I was telling her at one point, I was like, I know there's tension, but I can't really tell where it is or don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And so recently I've had the breakthrough of kind of being able to be like, oh, there it's creeping up in my jaw or my tongue. And then I know how to kind of let go of it while I'm singing. So it's not like I have to wait and then do an exercise. It's like I could literally do it while I'm singing, you know.
Wow.
Release it. So
that's huge. That is so difficult. Like I feel like, especially with tension, like once you're in it, it's so hard to get out of it, like on the spot. So that's a huge breakthrough.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty new, and I recognize I know this whole other level to it, but just being able to say that and have experienced it a few times, and that feels like a breakthrough.
Yay!
Yeah.
Congrats!
Yeah.
And you've only been at this, with us at least, for a little more than 6 months now.
Yeah, just about.
Yeah. And so, you know, it's obviously we're not magicians and we can wave our wand and all your problems disappear in one session. Like, I would love that.
Yeah.
But, you know, it takes that consistency but it's still incredible to see how far you can get in just one lesson. Because, in over just a couple of months. And with you, I remember in our lesson that we did together, you were also singing fighter. And I was like, okay, we took it down to see, okay, where does it currently feel comfortable? And then my, thought process behind it was like, okay, we need to feel comfortable in a range, like wherever that range is for you. And then we'll take it up and up and up, but and still prioritize the feel of it, not just the sound of it, but also the feel of it.
Yeah.
Because like, yes, we want to get up here, but if it doesn't feel good lower, well, how are we going to make it feel good up there? And again, sustainability, which is what you were looking for, comes from feeling good in singing. So I was like, okay, well, let's find the range, the key, whatever it is we want to call it, where it currently feels good. And then we're going to work our way up back to the original key. And that where you felt good was quite a bit lower than where the actual key of the song was.
Yeah.
And then during our check-in session 6 months later, you were singing it in the original key again. And those notes just came flying out. And I was like, how the heck did you do that in just 6 months? I was really impressed.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. I mean, it feels great. And, there was a moment where that came out as like, well, do we lower the key for you to be able to sing it live? And I was like, combination of ego and just, I was like, no way. I don't care if I have to, But it did make me realize that I couldn't just muscle to, breaking that breakthrough. I had to train through it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Muscling through. I'm so familiar with that. It's my own personal tendency too.
Yeah.
So I could very much relate to what you were experiencing. I was like, yeah, that is exactly what I did too. But I ended up with a vocal injury from it. And so that's why I was like, no, we're going to place you with Emily. She has a master's degree in voice pedagogy. She's going to make sure you do not end up with a vocal injury like I did. So, that I took that into consideration as well, because for me, it was like, well, I just want to avoid you ending up in the same situation I did. Because, if you're doing it every so often, like, it's going to be fine. But if you do end up going on tour and you're doing this over and over and over again for weeks, it's like, well, good luck. It's not going to be sustainable. And so, it's all about feeling, like, when it comes to sustainability, like I said before, it's all about feeling good, physically feeling good when you're singing. That's when it becomes sustainable. As long as you're like, have to push or force or just, squeeze the note out, that's when when your voice becomes inconsistent and not sustainable. Right.
Yeah.
You can get the right take in the studio, but on stage it's then like, good luck, babe. Good luck, babe. I was listening to that song driving here. So it's literally good luck, right? And like, hopefully it's going to happen this time, but you never know. And that builds so much tension, because in your mind then it's like, oh my God, I hope, right?
Yeah, totally. And it takes you out of the actual performance of the song.
Yes.
You're just, I would just be thinking, either get through the song, which is that's not fun to,
no,
or in fear that is not going to make it. So,
yeah. And your audience can kind of tell too, when you get scared
whether
or
or not they know it, they can pick up on,
they feel it. Yeah.
When a performer is not comfortable.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, it's,
yeah. And for me, I always say mental tension is going to translate into physical tension. So any fears that you have, any doubts that you have, all of that
it's your
will make
molecules.
Your body yeah, absolutely.
My musical pursuit and what I'm creating is deeply tied to the world of mental health. And even though I've been in that world and I've been writing songs that were about this topic, I didn't really put it all together that this was the kind of core of my music and my niche, or my angle.
Yeah.
And so I got really clear on that about a year ago, and I started to do some work on like how am I going to serve my community that way. And so one of the things I started to do was I started doing this thing called Mental Health Monday, which is a live stream on my Instagram channel, and basically inviting other creatives and mainly musicians to come on live with me, and ones that generally have some connection to mental health, which I feel like we all do in some way or another, but some are a little more either conscious of it or committed to that side of things. And so, and I would have these kind of live stream interviews with them, and I invited my whole fan community, and then they would invite their music communities as well. So it was a collaborative community thing.
Yeah.
And we would just talk about the topic of music and mental health and how they intersect. So that's been really fun. And I'm turning it in those interviews. I've recorded them, and I didn't intend to do it when I started the live stream, but realized, I have these recordings. Why don't I make a podcast? And I've produced a podcast before. And I know I've seen the power of them and the reach that they can have and how they can help people. So I've been recording them, and I have about 20 interviews recorded, and I'm going to launch the Mental Health and Music. Actually, it's not the Mental Health and Music podcast. It's just called Mental Health and Music with Avatari. And I'm going to release it in March. So that's one thing I'm doing, but
why is this important to you?
Yeah, so I think it goes back to my experience with my addiction and getting clean and sober. It's where my whole life basically became about nurturing that, call it a spiritual malady, which is a disease, but it's a funny one, where it's like it's in your heart and your soul, my heart, my soul, and so the with the fall that I had, the amazing part of it was I got exposed to a whole new way of life. And a big piece of it was community and connecting with other humans and talking really honestly, sharing feelings, which was not something that I was good at or really knew how to do very well. I kept a lot of things hidden, and I like, especially the shadows and the just whatever those things are that I didn't want people to see. And so I got to see how those were the very things that I needed to actually reveal and start to kind of make friends with in a community with other people, because I can't really do it by myself, So I recognize that a combination of like a space to be free and talk about, these issues with other people that were going through maybe similar things, and sharing it was kind of the answer. And so I saw it, but I still hadn't connected it totally to my music, but all my music was really about this. Like, I released a song. One of the first songs I released is Avatari, is called High Like This. That was the first time I directly wrote about my addiction. I'd written songs that were about the kind of the feelings of breaking free and being kept down. Like, that's kind of what Fighter is about. But in High Like This, I'm literally talking about my addiction and nearly dying and getting through that. So that was one of the songwriting experiences that I had that felt like I made a breakthrough, because I was like, oh, I'm actually being really honest on a new level here. And so, and I got to make a video for that I'm really proud of. And that's where my acting and that's kind of where it all came together for me, where my acting, my music, my songwriting, and the mental health and side of things all fused into one experience. But anyway, so yeah, I would say that's the reason that it's important to me. And what's happened over the last year is I've just become a bit more conscious and intentional about, and also as someone that gets to, through Modern Musician, help other artists, I see more and more that having a way to tie your music into an area that you're really passionate about, that is of service in some way, can be very powerful. There, as we know, there's so many musicians. So there's so much music, which is wonderful and beautiful. It's like really easy nowadays for someone to be able to create, record at a pretty good level, and put music out there. But it's created a space that's very full.
Yes,
so
because the level of entry, like the barrier of entry, has come
the barrier
down.
is come down, which again, great. Like I would love for anyone that wants to make music and release it, and I think it's a dream come true for that to happen, but to be heard through all of that is harder. And so the big thing that I take away, as an artist, but also being with artists in their journeys, is the more authentic and real and truthful and intentional about it that you can be, the better chance you have at like cutting through and grabbing your people to you.
Yeah, grabbing your people, because not everybody is going to be your people.
No, and I feel like that's a great thing, is like the more, not only the more honest and yourself that you are, it will cut through the people that aren't your people too
Yeah.
more, quickly. So you're not like wasting time trying to convert
Yeah.
someone to be your fan that maybe it's just not the right
Yeah.
fit.
It's interesting because we've done a couple of these interviews now, and everyone who has an artist project, and they all say the same thing. Like it all comes down to authenticity, right? And doing what really matters to you and becoming intentional. And it's I love hearing that theme. It's just everyone talks about it, and I'm like, well, I guess they're right. I guess that is important.
I think it's the era of authenticity, and it's funny because there's also a lot of not authenticity available,
Yeah.
and disconnection. And I'm a big fan of social media as a tool, but it can also be a place where you can forget that you're a human.
Yes.
that you forget, like, human connect. It's really easy to hide. And so therefore I do feel like underneath all of it that we as a people, as a society, are really craving authenticity and real emotion, and for people to say things that like hit them in the face and be like, oh man, that's what I was thinking, but that person actually said the thing that I was thinking,
Yeah.
That's like, I love Eminem, right? So he's just so, like he says things in a completely unique way, and he's not afraid of scaring people or, he's not like, I feel like he's an example of someone, and, Billie Eilish, these artists that are not creating a product, they're just speaking right from their heart and soul. And then it winds up becoming huge because they're doing that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. If you can create from your heart, your soul, whatever it is, however you describe that, what that means to you, that's when you have the most chances of reaching people, and not like, what are people gonna like? Let me write that, or let me sing that.
I've been on YouTube, on the internet, looking at these Rick Rubin interviews, and he's obviously an amazing producer, but also just an amazing articulator about creativity. And so I was watching one recently where he was talking about songwriting, that his thing is like, you should not be thinking about your fans at all when you're writing music, in the standpoint of it should literally just be a diary entry. Like you're just spitting your soul onto to paper, which kind of brought me back to like when I was first started songwriting, when I, put down drugs and alcohol, and then I had all this space and all these thoughts and emotions, and I was like, just grab my guitar and it's got to go somewhere. It was very therapeutic. Now, I don't know if those were the best songs. In fact, I know that they weren't, but that's just because I was like brand new to it, and but they were honest from where I was. Yeah,
I love that. Therapeutic. I feel like singing lessons can also be very therapeutic for a lot of people out there. That sometimes, like, we have lessons where the first 15 minutes we just talk because you had a shit day. But that's a part of it too. I always joke and say, like, vocal coaches, we're half therapists, half vocal coaches, but we're not licensed. We're therapists. We're not, but it can feel very therapeutic.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the voice. So it's like, it's a human's way of connecting through sound with the rest of humanity, which is like one of the main ways that we tell people how we feel, what we think.
It's how we communicate.
Release emotion. So I mean, it's singing, but it's communication.
It's not just singing, it's also speaking, because your voice is it's the same thing whether you speak or you sing. And so when I went through my vocal injury journey, and I literally didn't have a voice for 4 weeks, and I was so afraid that I would never be able to sing again, and it was all I knew. Like, it was my entire identity. My voice was my identity. Not in a healthy way. And it was like, you can't take that away from me, because what am I without my voice? And obviously not healthy. Learned a lot from that. And, but you know, it's such a big part of who you are as a person, even if you don't sing, because it's how you communicate with others. It's how you stand up for yourself. It's how you tell someone you don't like something, you love something. Like, yeah, it's how you get your emotions across. Sure, body language is huge in that as well, but the voice is such a vulnerable thing. It makes it very powerful, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we each have a unique one, like a fingerprint, right? And it's but also, you know, it has all these levels to it that you can kind of unlock and find. And you know, the more I kind of do the work and getting in touch with my voice, I kind of, it's a bit of a barometer for, you know, where am I emotionally, you know, where am I mentally, you know, am I being truly honest right now? You know, there's like, you can see there's places that your voice goes when, you know, maybe you're not, or when you're uncomfortable, you know, not just like telling a lie, but just maybe avoiding a uncomfortable interaction or conflict, you know. And but also it gives you power when you know that, because then you can, if you're in you can say, you know what, I'm going to drop my voice right now, or I'm just going to breathe a little bit through this and then talk, and then or, you know, I'm not going to talk loud at this person, you know, I'm not going to give away all my power, I'm going to kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, and in acting, you probably learned a lot about that too, like how to use your voice, and even, again, not for singing only, but also for how to get your point across, because man, the voice carries a lot of emotion, a lot of intention too, because like you can say a phrase, the same phrase in 3 different ways, and they all come out complete, like the meaning of it changes completely just by how you say it.
Yeah, I mean,
the words don't change.
Right.
The delivery changes.
Totally. I mean, for acting, basically, you know, as an actor, you're given words on a piece of paper. So it's just like a piece of paper with these black and white little words, right? Yeah. And then it's up to you to turn that into a living, breathing world. And of course, the words, the big tool is your voice and well, the voice is almost a byproduct of the emotional life in acting and the imaginative world that you create. But finding that voice, and then of course it's connected to the body. You know, they're not like, the voice is inside your body. Yeah. And also it, you know, the way that you move. Also as an artist, you know, the way that I'm moving on stage and stuff like that will affect the way that I'm able to sing. And,
very much so. But there's so much to unpack. There's so much more that goes
things
into it, right? Like when you're just listening to music, it's like, oh yeah, they have a great voice, they sound so pretty. But like there's so much like that goes into it. It's crazy. And again, not just the technical side of singing, but also the mental side of singing, the emotional side of singing, all of it. There's just so much to unpack.
Yeah.
A lot of groundwork that needs to be done.
Ah, it's so fun.
Ooh, is it though? It is. It can be frustrating at times, but overall, I would say it's fun.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, do we want to do a little singing?
I'll take your lead.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, let's do a quick little warm up, just a little call and response thing.
Okay.
And then we'll work a little bit on the song.
Cool.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Let's do it. All right. So, boing. Let's snap on 2 and 4 and 1, 2, 3. Yeah, he's jumped up the octave. Wee. Yeah, there it is. There's that middle octave. Yeah. Right? And it's so funny because that is something that I always see in lessons when I'm working with a male voice, when I sing something, they either sing it in their octave, meaning like an octave lower than where I am, or skip the middle octave where I am and jump way up. I'm like, hold on, the middle.
Don't forget that middle one.
The middle. It's so. I find it so fascinating. Everyone does it.
Yeah.
Literally everyone.
Well, I mean, those would be my two most comfy places, was like that middle octave, and then in the head voice, like up high.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, let's go a little bit higher up too. Then.
Okay.
All right. Ooh. Ooh.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Ooh. Wee. Yeah.
Wee. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Very good. How's your voice feeling?
Feels good, yeah.
That's good.
I did have a big vocal lesson earlier with Emily before I came
it's
here.
Wednesday. There you go. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
and it was great. And we're working on We Are the Champions.
Okay.
And so I ran that a bunch of times. So I don't know if
You
you can
are
hear
warm.
my voice. I'm warm. I'm also like my voice is anyway.
You're getting to the point where you're overly warm. It's like, hold on, we're starting to slow down again, because you're hitting a like. You can absolutely do too much, right? Even if you have the perfect technique and you're doing everything exactly the way you're supposed to, if you are really working out your voice, eventually it's like, okay, hold on. We don't want to overdo it. It's just like when you lift weights at the gym. Eventually those weights are going to get too heavy and you just cannot do another bicep curl for the life of you.
Yeah.
Right? So it's the same in singing too.
Yeah, that's a good way to hear it, because I think part of me feels like, oh, if I get tired, it's because I'm doing something wrong,
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Not necessarily. It can just be because you are working really friggin' hard right now.
Yeah, and your stamina just runs out.
Everybody's stamina runs out.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, right? Whether that's bicep curls or you're running a marathon or you're swimming or you're singing.
Yeah.
You can only go so far and then you have to take a break.
Yeah.
Are you still cool to do a little singing?
Yeah, totally.
Do you want to do We Are the Champions, or do you want to do something else?
Oh man.
What do you want to do?
You need cooling, baby. I'm not fooling. Gonna send ya back to schooling. Way down inside, honey, you need it. Gonna give you my love. Gonna give you my love. Yeah. Want a whole lot of love. Want a whole lot of love. Want a whole lot of love.
Yeah. Okay. Very nice. Sorry. How did it feel?
Yeah, it felt good. I definitely felt a little bit of the like I was just singing "We Are the Champions" for an hour. So a little bit of that, like it wasn't 100% clean the way I wanted it, but yeah, it was. I love this song, and it's kind of in my rock wheelhouse. So
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, you had that like little grittiness coming through too, which is so sexy. And yes, you feel like a little bit of vocal fatigue, right? Because you were just working out your voice really heavily.
Yeah.
And so you're experiencing a little bit of vocal fatigue.
A little
bit.
But
in like to us as your audience, we're listening to this, and like especially like if we don't know you, it's like, yeah, I mean that was fucking great, right?
Oh,
like
cool.
you get that little bit of grit, that rasp, like the and it sounds really cool. And in your mind, you're like, I would love this to be a little bit cleaner, like clearer. But as your audience, we don't know that, and it sounds great to us the way you're doing it.
Well, that's good. Yeah, it's funny. Like a lot of my personal vocal heroes are front men that do wield grit, like
Yeah.
Chris Cornell and Robert Plant and Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
And so, and I've always kind of leaned that way because of something about how I've felt like with what I like, but also the way that my voice is. But I've also started to become more maybe clear of like, when am I using it versus when is it a function of I don't even know how to. I'm sure you can.
When is it a choice?
When is it a choice?
Yeah.
And when is my voice just getting a little bit raw?
Yeah.
And being more crafty about using grit, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. And with grit, like with distortion or even with breathy singing too, anything where we're changing the tone of our voice, to me, that should always be a choice, right? Like I am choosing to add grit here. I'm choosing to make the notes breathy here, not like, well, I can't sing it any other way. So that's what I'm going to have to do to get it out. Especially, when it comes to like feel with any sort of distortion, you can blow out your voice really freaking fast.
Yeah.
So we just have to be careful with that. But again, sometimes when we add distortion, or actually almost all the time, when we add distortion, it actually makes the notes easier to sing when you have access to distortion, right? Like when you first learn how to sing with distortion, it can be a little tricky and difficult to do. But if you have access to that tool in your toolbox, when you then add distortion on some of these high notes in the song, or any song for that matter, your voice actually has to work a little bit less to get the notes out, because the distortion is what's going to add like almost like the power to it.
Yeah.
So your vocal folds themselves don't have to work quite as
right. You don't have to push as hard to make it powerful. The kind of texture of the
texture will do it for you.
Of the distortion makes it feel powerful.
Yes. Do you know the song "Beautiful Things" by Benson Boone?
Beautiful things that I got. Yes, I do. He's freaking awesome.
Stay.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
That song's
So
fantastic.
I was actually working on that song with Emily too.
Oh, cool.
And I realized that when I sing like the high notes with "please stay with the distortion is so much easier than "stay."
Right.
Stay.
Yeah.
Easier because I have access to the distortion. If that's a new tool for you, then it's probably a whole lot more difficult at first. But once that's a tool in your toolbox, it gets easier to hit the notes.
That's great. That was a really great portrayal of like the power of using distortion that way, and how it can, and that's a great song. Dan, your voice is.
Well, thank you. I've been working on it.
You've been working on it for a lifetime.
Yes. It's been many years.
Yeah.
But distortion is new to me too. Like that was never really something I did besides like the Christina Aguilera growls. The that.
Yeah, the kind of lower growly thing.
Yes. Always loved doing that because Christina was like my biggest idol ever growing up. So. That's what I wanted to do. But anytime she did any sort of rasp, which is like that Benson Boone thing that I just did, or what you were doing, that's different from a growl. It's you create it, anyways, it doesn't matter. You create it differently, it sounds completely different. Yeah. And so I never learned that. And I was like, I want to learn how to do that raspy thing, that gritty thing, and not just the full on growl. And now that it's a part of my toolbox, I'm like, this is kind of cool. Just opens up the world,
Yeah, it does. It's really powerful. And now that I'm thinking of it, that was one of the things, like when I heard that Little Richard song, and he's a lot of those rock guys, Mick Jagger, Robert Plant, were kind of that was when and it's because my dad came from that world. And I was exposed to it, but it was also just because I identified with it. I was like, I want to do that.
Yes. And, and that was a conversation that we had in our first lesson too, right? It was like, I knew you were in that more like rock scene vocally, like with your music. And I was like, Emily has that vocal distortion background. She studied with people who are experts in vocal distortion. So, you know, she doesn't do like heavy metal, like screamo type
Yeah.
stuff. But for rock singing, I was like, yeah, that's just a really cool tool to have in your toolbox for your specific, you know, music that you're creating. And so I wanted to make sure that you're studying that with somebody who knows how to do it in a healthy way.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And the flip side is I think when I came to you guys also, my mind was opening up to also not wanting to be limited to that. So it was like I wanted to continue to work on being able to use that tool. And I was like, could I also be more of a versatile singer? You know, because I think part of me felt like my voice can only do this thing, you know, and I can do this and I feel comfy doing it. And, you know, people tell me they think it sounds good. Does that mean that I can't also like sing some type of pop song as well? Like, do I not have a pop voice?
Yeah.
And so I think getting into, you know, the work and just being like, okay, what can I do to expand the palette that I use?
Yeah.
And
it comes down to choice, right? At the end of the day, vocal training to me should be so that you can make choices on how you want to sing each note. Do you want to add rasp or not? Like any sort of distortion or not? Do you want to add vibrato on that note or not? Do you want to sing it in a breathy voice or not? Do you want to belt it, or do you want to switch into a more of a head voicey, falsetto-y type of thing? Like, there's a million different ways you can sing each note. And at the end of the day, I want you to be able to freely express yourself however you want.
Yeah.
But we need to have the vocal skills to do that, because otherwise the voice is going to choose for you and you have no no real say in it. Right?
Yeah, totally. And I mean, I have my instinctive way that I want to sing things like straight off the bat. But I think sometimes instinct can also be based on, this is what I currently am confident doing, you know, you versus like the instinct of what I would like to do, you know. So when you add tools, then it's like, then you can instinctively do other things. So
well, and you're mostly going to live in your comfortable zone.
Yeah, totally.
Right? That's where you're going to spend most of your time when you're singing songs, when you're performing, right? Vocal training, you probably spend most of your time outside of your comfort zone, but when you're singing and performing and all that, you spend most of your time in your comfort zone, because that's where your voice shines, right? We want to highlight the strengths, not the challenges that you're experiencing when you're singing and performing, right? So it's like social media. You always put your best foot forward, right? And you kind of hide the stuff that might not be so great. It's the same thing in singing and performing. We want to put our best foot forward, so we stay in our comfort zone most of the time. But we then still pull from other things that we can do too that might maybe be a little bit more challenging, but it feels right in that moment there. Like in whatever song you're singing, in that bridge, for example, it just feels right to throw in that weird thing that you can do that might not necessarily be a part of your comfort zone, but it just feels right to do it there, you know, and it serves the song.
Yeah. We
live in different circles, and those circles overlap most of the time in singing. Yeah. Right. So anyways.
Yeah. Like, you know, I was one of the first icons that I said, oh, you know, I want to do that, you know, Michael Jackson. And like, obviously he could do raspy.
Yeah.
Like a just a straight up rock and roll, you know, frontman. And then he could full on go into all, you know, riffing and soft pop and beautiful. So I think
versatile.
part of, you know, I that became the kind of pinnacle of like being a really well-rounded singer. And yeah.
I love that. Well, again, it's all about having the choice, right? If you are, the more well-rounded you are, the more choice you have. That's, in my book, what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Right? I have this question that I ask all of our guests, and this show is called From Singer to Artist. And so the question is, what to you is the difference between a singer and an artist, if there is one?
Yeah, really good question. I think that for me, the thing that I'm thinking about is what we were talking about earlier, where with acting actually, where we're talking about the page with like the lyrics on it, and it's like, and it also goes to like what you talked about earlier with, you know, more tools just mean more ways to communicate and evoke, but it's how much am I making this come to life and live and breathe, you know, and how much am I making it my own, you know, like so that it is, and it also goes to authenticity, and you know, am I truly singing from my heart and no one else's? Am I using my voice and no one else's? And that's why I feel like, you know, there are amazing singers and there are amazing artists, and sometimes their circles intersect, and sometimes not. You know, my main goal for myself in basically everything that I'm doing is, you know, how much of myself am I pouring into this? You know, the songwriting, the singing, the acting, the stage performance, and so and it's myself at this moment in time, you know, because we're all evolving. And then as an artist, I'm always trying to grow. So I'm always trying to add things that I can do, you know, my palette and my paintbrushes. Like I'm taking, you know, dance lessons right now to like expand my ability to communicate through movement. I've always loved dancing and moving, but I've just gone with what feels right to me. And I'm like, kind of like with singing, I'm like, could I add a whole range of motion and expression to what I'm doing? And could that, you know, open things up? And it totally has, you know? And so, with singing, you know, there's what God gave me, and then there's, you know, how am I using it? And then how am I continuing to gain access? And so I guess it's just like how much, you know, I want to be a great singer, but I think probably my bigger goal is I want to be a really deep and unique and original communicator through voice.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing and for sharing your whole story with us and being here today. Thank you, Ari, for joining us.
Oh, Laura, it was a total pleasure. I had a blast, and I love what you're doing. I think that it's really cool that you're doing this and this. I mean, you're already on a platform and helping people, and you know, I just think that growing the way that you're able to reach people is a great thing, because you have a great message and a great way that is, you know, really like, I think, you know, people identify with it, and you're helping a lot of people.
Thank you. That is the goal, and that was kind of the decision that I made when I went vocal coaching full time compared to, you know, doing my own artist project. I was like, I feel like I'm just in it for myself with my own artist project, because there was a misalignment, you know, with authenticity and all that stuff. That's not something we need to get into right now. But, you know, it's it felt like the only person depending on me was me, and I didn't like that. And when I started vocal coaching, it was like, oh my God, I can actually make a difference in somebody else's life. Like, even if it's just for a hobby, right? Like, it doesn't matter what your goal is. They're enjoying themselves and they're learning something. They're having a good time. And that just lit me up. And I was like, yeah, I want to do that. I'm going to switch lanes here a little bit and start doing that full time. So thank you for seeing that and for saying it. And thank you for trusting us with your voice. And thank you to Coach Emily, too.
Yeah, shout out to Coach Emily.
Yes. And cheers to many more successful vocal performances, songs, your whole career. I can't wait to see where you're going to go next. So let us know, where can we find you if we want to follow along with your music?
Yeah, probably the easiest way is on Instagram, Avatari World. That's like the word avatar with an I at the end, and then world at Avatari World is my Instagram, and I'm very active there. And I do the Mental Health Monday live stream every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific. So that's one of the ways. My YouTube channel, I'm very proud of it because I make videos that I think incorporate cinema and my acting, and it's one of my favorite ways to make art. So follow me on, subscribe to YouTube. You can search Avatari, or I don't know if there are links in the show notes. Yeah. I have my podcast is going to be coming out in March, Mental Health and Music. So if you do podcasts, which probably if you're watching this, you do, would love for you to check it out. And I think you're going to join me.
Yes, I will.
In a couple weeks.
Yes, I'm very excited.
So yeah, I'm excited about that. And then as far as playing live, I have a show coming through that. So those are
I'll link
the
to everything too.
Awesome.
Perfect. But Avatari World.
Avatari World on Instagram and TikTok, and then Avatari and
on
the
YouTube.
other places. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ari. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Laura.
And I'm excited to join you for your podcast for Mental Health Mondays.
I can't wait to have you. It's going to be great. Yeah.
And all the best to you with everything, with your acting, with your music, with your life, your beautiful family.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to catch up again soon.
Thanks, Laura.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, everybody, for joining. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.